The U.S. and China have revealed some new information tonight about the agreement reached between the two countries on trade. China's government confirmed today that some type of arrangement had been reached, but offered few details. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says China has agreed to make it easier for American companies to acquire rare earth minerals from China, which are needed for manufacturing and semiconductor production. In exchange, the U.S. will lower tariffs on Chinese imports, though it is unclear by how much.
Part of the agreement was tariffs coming down and rare earth magnets starting to flow back to the U.S. They form the core of a lot of our industrial base.
We hope that the United States side will work with China to implement the important consensus reached.
President Trump has set a July 9th deadline for world leaders to make a deal, or he says tariffs will go up significantly. President Trump says he has terminated all trade negotiations with Canada. In a post on Truth Social, the president took exception to Canada's digital services tax on U.S. tech companies. President Trump says he will inform Canada of the tariffs that will be levied on Canadian imports in the next week. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said today that the negotiations on trade are complex and that he expects they will continue. There is more heated rhetoric between President Trump and Iran's supreme leader. Iran asserts that its military has, quote, delivered a slap to America's face by striking an air base in Qatar. And President Trump says the U.S. has delivered a decisive victory over Iran. Fox's Mike Tobin has more on the conflict.
We do not have understanding and control of where all of that material is.
The world is still trying to determine the extent of the damage done to Iran's nuclear program as negotiations toward a broader peace deal continue. On Friday, House lawmakers got a classified briefing, but most Democrats say they still have deep concerns that the airstrikes might not have destroyed Iran's supply of highly enriched uranium.
There is, I think, frankly, very over-optimistic portrayal of what was and was not accomplished by this mission.
But Republicans tell a different story, claiming the intelligence presented in the briefing clearly shows significant damage to the nuclear facilities.
President Trump took a decisive action, and it was successful. They severely hurt the nuclear program.
The Israeli military also held their own briefing on Friday, announcing the end of their offensive operations in Iran and releasing new footage showing the extent of the damage.
This victory opens up an opportunity for a dramatic expansion of the peace agreements. We are working on this vigorously.
And while Israel pivots back to the war in Gaza, President Trump is now working with America's allies in the region to advance a more comprehensive agreement with Iran. He says the next round of talks will take place next week.
I don't believe that they're going to go back into nuclear anytime soon. They spent over $1 trillion on nuclear, and they never got it together.
On Friday, Iran's foreign minister said his country is considering barring UN inspectors from visiting its nuclear sites. In Tel Aviv, Israel, Mike Tobin.